Let me have your attention, please. Let me have your attention, please. Let's begin. Welcome to the University of Tennessee Nuclear Engineering Department Colloquium Program. My name is Lee Dodds, and usually it's my privilege to introduce today's speaker. But since today I am the speaker, I'm not going to introduce anyone. There's not going to be an introduction, which should make everybody happy, including me. I do want to welcome everyone back from their activities of the summer. Most of the students in the audience are graduate students, and I know what they did this summer. They were working on their research and studying for the PhD qualifying exam. I do hope that everybody had a safe and productive summer, not too many yellow jacket stings and so on. We're glad you're here, and what I have planned today is to show you what I have scheduled so far for our colloquium program, which we average about 3 Wednesday afternoons a month. I guess we don't do it every Wednesday, but 3 out of 4 is pretty good. But before I get to today's program, where we talk about the colloquium program for this semester, there's someone I want to recognize. One of our professors was recently elected as a fellow of the American Nuclear Society, which will bring to over half of our faculty are fellows of their respective technical society. And the most recent person to receive such an honor is Dr. Bela Padilla. I'd like for him to stand up, and let's give him a round of applause. Okay, we also have some new technology that we're using this year. We started this colloquium program 7 years ago. In fact, we have 7 years of archives of our colloquium programs archived on our website. And we have some really famous pictures. I think we have Alvin Weinberg either 3 or 4 times. But the technology that we started with and the technology that we have today, thanks to these people here, you notice we have 4 technicians here. Everybody knows Gary. He's our in-house guru on all this equipment. Then we have Jack Holden and Daniel, and this young man who's a recent graduate of Double E, starts with an A. What is your name? Yeah, okay. So we are pleased to have you here, and we look forward to this year's program. And so let's get started. This technology is really good. So you get to stand here. You don't have to look at the screen. You get to change slides by doing that, if it works. There it goes. I'm going to do a little demonstration here. Is that okay? Because I really like it. If I want to point, remember we've always had a problem in the past with our speakers walking over here and picking up one of these crayons and having to point, and their back is to the audience. And so if I want to point, I press a color and I point, and then I do this and hit that, and it goes away. Okay? And I never have to look away from the audience. So this is really a good technology. We've progressed a lot in the last 7 years, thanks primarily to these people, not to me. Okay, what is the purpose of our colloquium program? I thought I could get away without my glasses, but I can't do that. Even though this type is huge here, I still need to put these things on. So excuse me. Yeah, there it is. Why do we have this colloquium program? I think it's good each year to review why we do this, and maybe we'll understand and appreciate what our program more. We want to learn from speakers that are primarily external to UT. Okay, you'll be exposed to new ideas and concepts, stay abreast and informed about current events and new opportunities. Really, we want to think outside of the box, even occasionally outside of the nuclear box. At least once a semester, we'll have some colloquium presentation that doesn't have anything to do with nuclear power or nuclear technology, which I think is a good thing. And I've got some suggestions at the end for that. We also are interested in promoting good relations with all of the external organizations that we invite the speakers from. We have Miss Nancy Curry, who's the chief recruiter for nuclear power for TVA. She's sitting on the front row. You might want to get her so she can wave at all her TVA colleagues. And then after the colloquium presentation from the speakers, we'd like to go downstairs and have a party, okay, with food. And that's when our faculty and our students and our guests can get together and talk about whatever. And it's always a pleasant time. And the food always manages to disappear by the end of the day, okay, no matter how much we buy. It does disappear. And, of course, the fact that we're webcasting this presentation means that we get a lot of visibility and recognition for our program, because this is going to cyberspace. And we encourage questions from cyberspace. The questions, the people, it says on the page that advertises this, that they can send an email to us, which is almost instantaneous. Lydia will print it. She'll bring it to me. I'm usually sitting right here. And then during the Q&A period, after the presentation is over, I will read the question. And we've had questions from all over the world. The most recent faux pas was that I got a question, I think, for our last colloquium. I had it in my hand, and I was standing up here moderating the Q&A session, and I forgot to read the question, even though I had it in my hand. Is that a sign of my age, probably? Maybe. All right, let's move on here. Okay, today's objectives are to overview the colloquium program that I have scheduled thus far, and then I have a few extra suggestions that I want to provide. Then I want to get your suggestions, okay? Because we usually get good suggestions from the audience, and we'll try to schedule those in the few remaining opening spots that we have this semester, or we don't have any schedule for next semester, so we can schedule next semester. We can discuss any other topic of importance that's important to you, and then, of course, we're going to have this welcome back reception. Okay, here's the tentative schedule that I have set up so far. Of course, the first one today is September the 6th. I'm the speaker. Then next week I've been trying to get this guy for 2 years. It's Dr. Arden Verment. He is the director of the National Science Foundation. Okay, he is a very busy man. I met him when he was head of the nuclear engineering program at Purdue University. He participated in he had students participating in the ANS student design competition, and that's where I first met him. After he left Purdue, he went to the National Institute of Standards and Technology as the director of NIST. He was that for a year or two, and then he became the director of the National Science Foundation, which is a really important position. He'll be here on the 13th. September the 20th is open. I don't have a colloquium schedule for that day. The reason I personally have not scheduled one is that I'm going to be on travel. I like these programs. I like to hear the speakers. So, but does that mean you can't have a colloquium? No, you most certainly can have a colloquium. All you have to do is tell me who you want to invite, and I'll try to arrange it. Or I'll ask one of my colleagues, one of the faculty members, to arrange it. And you can have one on September the 20th. But I'll be in Atlanta at INPO. On September the 27th, we have George Dodds. He is the new president and general manager of the BWX Y-12 plant. And the title of his presentation is A Rationalized Nuclear Fuel Cycle. I had lunch with George Dodds about a month ago. He's an impressive person. He's going to do well for BWXT Y-12. Y-12, by the way, is the bigger plant in Oak Ridge, right? Oak Ridge National Laboratory is a good size, but Y-12 is actually bigger from the standpoint of the number of people. And then on October the 4th, I have, many of you know Bernadette Kirk. She is the director of the Radiation Safety Information Center at the Oak Ridge National Laboratory. The title of her presentation is The Radiation Safety Information Computational Center, Half-Century of Support to the Nuclear Science Community. And they have given us a lot of support over the years. If you need a computer code that's been released and open and available to the public, RSIC is the depository for codes and data, okay? And Bernie will be here on October the 4th. On October the 11th, that's an open date. That's the Wednesday before fall break, sort of like the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. It's not a good time to have a colloquium. If you want to have one, that date is open, and it's probably okay. It's not nearly as bad as having a colloquium the Wednesday before Thanksgiving because people are out cooking turkey or getting ready to eat turkey. But this one is open if you want to make use of it. And like I said, all you have to do is let me know, and I'll try to arrange it or get a faculty member to help organize it. Then on October the 18th, we have Larry Satkowiak. He's the Director of Nuclear Non-Proliferation Programs at the Oak Ridge National Laboratory. The title of his presentation will be Nuclear Non-Proliferation and Terrorism, which is, needless to say, a very important topic today. You probably, if you read the Knoxville News-Sentinel, you've read some articles about some of the work that Larry and his people have done in the past year or so, past couple of years, okay? Like retrieving highly enriched uranium from some country in Asia and bringing it back here for safe storage so it cannot be used for weapons. Then on October the 25th, we have Dr. Dana Christensen. He is a new Associate Laboratory Director at Ornell, and the title of his presentation will be Nuclear Energy Future, okay? Dana came to Oak Ridge from Los Alamos. I met with him last Friday on September the 1st, and he's a very impressive individual. I think you will enjoy his presentation. Moving right along, November the 1st is a genuine open date, okay? Don't have anything scheduled. It's not before Thanksgiving. It's not before fall break. So if you have a suggestion and I can arrange it, that would be the first choice of the open dates. On November the 8th, we have Dr. Dan Kikuchi, who's the editor of the #1 journal in the nuclear science and engineering business, namely it's nuclear. The journal is Nuclear Science and Engineering. He is the editor. He has been for almost a decade. Dan used to be at Oak Ridge many years ago. He was a second-level supervisor. In fact, at some point, I think I worked for him at some point. He's an interesting guy from the standpoint, he's one of the best technical writers I have ever read, bar none. And he speaks 5 languages fluently. He is from Romania originally. Very impressive individual and a good tennis player. Then on November the 15th, that's an open date, and it may not be a good idea. You can have one. You can have a colloquium if you want to do it, but most of the faculty will be attending the National A&S meeting in Albuquerque, and so most of the faculty, not everybody, but most of them will be attending that meeting. But you can still have a colloquium on that day if you wish. Then on November the 22nd, that indeed is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Not a good time to have a colloquium, we've learned in the past. Then maybe I say the best for the last. Dr. Bill Bass. Several of you know who Bill Bass is. He is a retired professor, Professor Emeritus in the forensic anthropology program here at UT. But he is world famous because he created a research facility called the Body Farm, okay? And he is, I'll tell you a story about Dr. Bass. He's a wonderful speaker. The title of his presentation is The Human Skeleton in Forensics, okay? So it's not necessarily nuclear, but it will be interesting. Several years ago, when he was still an active professor, one of our presidents, and it was Ronald Reagan, he came to the UT campus. And, of course, when the President of the United States comes to campus, there's a big deal made, right? So they had a big luncheon planned over at the UC, the University Center, for the President and a few selected faculty members, the President, the Chancellor, Provost. And Bill Bass was one of the 2 or 3 faculty members invited to sit at the head table with the President of the United States, President Reagan. And the luncheon was supposed to start at 12 noon. Bill Bass had a class that lasted until 12:30. And he says, I will finish my class. So Bill Bass kept the President of the United States and about 500 people waiting 30 minutes on a luncheon on that day. And I've always respected that from Bill Bass, and I think that's a wonderful story. And so he'll be here. And by the way, the whole entourage, the entire, all 500 people, including the President, waited on Bill Bass to show up at 12:30, which speaks well for Dr. Bill Bass. All right, now that's what I have scheduled. There are 2 or 3 open dates, one that's not before some kind of holiday. And then here are some potential speakers and topics that I've suggested. One of our professors has been to Alaska 3 times in the last 18 months, something like that, maybe something like that. And he and his wife have collected some very good slides of Alaska, which are beautiful. And so I've asked him, and he has agreed to give a colloquium. This is a non-nuclear presentation. But my guess is that Dr. Townsend could somehow tie in his trip to Alaska with space radiation protection if he wanted to, okay? So we could make it a nuclear. Yeah, he could give it from Alaska with the technology that we have today. That's right. He could go back for trip number 4. And then I suggested these people, particularly Libby, last year, and I never did invite them. But we do pro-nuclear things in here all the time. Well, Stephen Smith is our local, I guess you could say he's anti-nuclear. Yeah, he's definitely anti-nuclear. But his wife is very nice. In fact, their offices are on Gay Street. And when Dr. Miller, Dr. Townsend, Dr. Grossbeck, and I used to go to lunch at Harold's, which is also on Gay Street. That's a kosher-style deli. Very good. It's closed now. We would stop, and if Libby were in the office there, we would stop and talk with her. And she is very nice, very easy to talk to. I'm not sure about Stephen, so we can invite Libby if you want to do that, and maybe she'll come. And then I did something about a month ago that I've always wanted to do. I have these friends that are in the coal mining business in eastern Kentucky. I have several such friends that do that. And I grew up in the construction business. And so coal mining is very similar to construction. Like I can sit and watch, and I've done this, I've watched laborers pave cobblestones on streets in Germany, and I can sit there and just watch them for 30 minutes and enjoy watching them. I can watch big equipment move dirt, and I enjoy that type of thing. Coal mining is very similar to that, and so I was invited, and I went there for a day, and I took 41 pictures with my digital camera. I learned about coal mining and doing coal mining 4 different ways. And to me, that's very interesting. But it may not be interesting to you. And if that's okay. If you don't want to hear that, I don't have to put the presentation together. That's a good thing, okay? But that is a possibility. All right, now those are my ideas. Let's see here. There we go. Now I want your suggestions. See, that didn't take long, about 20, 25 minutes. So the floor is now open. Who would you like to hear as a speaker in a colloquium sometime during the academic year? Dr. Upadhyaya. Yeah, and use the mic.
How about inviting somebody from the Center for Homeland Security?
Okay. Actually, Svetkoviak, most of his money comes from the Center from Homeland Security. So he's actually a contractor that gets his money from DHS. And so we have somebody that's going to talk about those things. But we could entertain. We'll wait and see what he has to say, and then we can possibly invite somebody else from DHS, Department of Homeland Security. Any other suggestions? Mario? What about student suggestions now? The students are sitting there, and I know you can speak because I hear you speaking all the time when you come to my office. So if you have a suggestion, not associated with basketball being, okay? All right, Mario?
There's a question about Iran wanting to enrich uranium for nuclear power.
Yeah.
And we think they're going to use them for weapons. Is there a discussion, or can it be part of the discussion that your Iran terrorism is going to cover?
Yeah, it could be, and like I said, if it's not, then we can invite somebody else, like Bill suggested, that maybe can address that topic. That's a good suggestion. Let's remember that. Somebody needs to be writing this down because I don't have my planner here. Any other suggestions? We have our medical physics person in the room here. We have space radiation protection people in the room. We have Colin. Surely you have a suggestion. My goodness, you've done so many interesting things in the past. What about that graphite that you brought in here one time? That what was the deal on the graphite? You don't remember? We're both of this age where we can't remember things, okay? Do we have any other suggestions before? Maybe what it is, the students want to go downstairs where the food is. You think that might be it? Okay. But no other ideas, then I guess I'll take Dr. Upadiah's suggestion, Dr. Mar Fontana's suggestion, and run with it. But hey, if you have suggestions, you don't have to wait. Just come see me or send me an email, okay? And then I'll try to make it happen. Okay? Thank you very much. Let's go downstairs for a party.